Good evening and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening television show. We are broadcasting live and available on demand and available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Monday, August 14th, 2023. And we are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson, and this evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ+ community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ+ news, you will see it and hear it.
Hotspot Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ+ community. Our mission is to support the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our Black community, Latino, lesbians and queer women, trans, students, youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS, healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ+ media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network. Our magazine is celebrating 38 years of the LGBTQ+ experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ+ and broader communities.
Let's welcome anchor FayWhat. She's a radio and television personality and is the host of the FayWhat Show, the first LGBTQ+ morning program Mondays at 9 a.m. and then on demand and on all streaming and social media platforms. She's also a hostess and MC for many South Florida events. Welcome, Faye.
In the gay agenda, South Florida, Celebrate Orgullo Festival returns to Miami October 1st. Orgullo Hispanic Pride Festival 2023 by Unity Coalition Coalición Unida is here. The festival will run from October 1st to October 13th. The festival explores how faith, folklore, and fashion affect and inspire us through society, spirituality, music, rhythm, hope, and symbolism. The festival will have events at venues across South Florida. The organizer of the festival, Unity Coalition Coalición Unida, is a nonprofit organization for South Florida's Latinx, Hispanic, and Indigenous LGBTQ+ community. The festival will start with the Art Diva bus tour and end with GLAAD's Gala and Legends Honors Award. Gather for the community and feel supported by attending the festival. For more details about this event and ticket purchases, visit celebrateorgullo.com.
Let's welcome anchor Dr. Tai Houser. He is an associate professor of English and Humanities at Broward College. Additionally, he teaches for extended periods of time at international colleges in China, India, Spain, and Bolivia. Good evening, Tai.
In the gay agenda, South Florida, Love, Valor, Compassion at Island City Stage starting October 12th. Island City Stage in Wilton Manors brings another engaging play to the queer community. This time, it is Love, Valor, Compassion, Terrence McNally's Tony and Drama Desk award-winning play about 8 gay friends who spend one summer at a beautiful 100-year-old house in upstate New York. Island City Stage brings art and cultural experiences to the community and hosts art-focused events. The play is scheduled for October 12th through November 5th. The time of the first show is 7 p.m. Get ready for love, laughter, betrayal, and life in this funny and touching dramedy. More information and tickets are available at islandcitystage.org.
Let's welcome Dale Stine, a celebrated photographer in the LGBTQ+ community. He is the director of music ministry at the famous Unity on the Bay and a moderator of Miami Gay List South Florida's largest LGBTQ plus Facebook group, which can also be found on IG as @QueerListOfficial. Welcome, Dale.
In the gay agenda, South Florida, Fiesta Latina con la Globos every Wednesday at Twist. Every Wednesday, Twist presents Fiesta Latina con la Globos, a live Latin comedy drag performance at midnight sharp, Twist South Beach. Twist South Beach is the longest-running gay bar in Miami. It has been catering for the gay community for over 30 years. The event features VJ host Jaime in Bar 5, the Latin Room, from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. It is a no-cover drag show full of groove. Never a cover, always a groove. Twist is open 7 nights a week, every week of the year. It is open to everyone over 21. For further information on the event, visit twistsobe.com.
We are the reporters of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Monday, August 14. Let's queer up education. LGBTQ plus harassment protected by religious exemption at Baylor University. The U.S. Department of Education has granted a religious exemption to Baylor University, which removes their obligation to take action on sexual harassment claims involving LGBTQ plus students. Baylor University, a private Baptist Christian research university in Waco, Texas, sent a letter to the Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights on May 1st, requesting reassurance that the belief in or practice of its religious tenets by the university or its students would not constitute unwelcome conduct under the department's definition of sexual harassment under Title IX. This request reportedly came after 4 complaints of harassment were made against the school, including one allegation that the school failed to respond to students who were harassed for their gender or sexual identity. The U.S. Department of Education granted Baylor University's request on July 25th, meaning that staff and students could not be accused of sexual harassment for their behavior towards LGBTQ plus people, which would be banned under Title IX, where the behavior is justified according to their religious beliefs and practices. Baylor's exemption also means that the university will not lose any federal funding. It neglects to respond to reports of sexual harassment on campus. According to the Religious Exemption Accountability Project, this is the first time a university has requested a religious Title IX exemption to permit sexual harassment, and the first time the Department of Education has granted such a request. Well, this is really bad news for Baylor University, because really, excuse me, the call out here is that Baylor can legally discriminate.
Right.
That's the exemption that they requested and they got. The Department of Education said, okay, you have an exemption to discriminate in violation of Title IX. The one really important thing I think in this dust-up that's going on at Baylor is this doesn't make sexual harassment any better. No. It just means it's okay to do it at Baylor University. And that's why this is really bad news.
And okay to do it to LGBTQ people.
Yes.
More to the point.
Yes, exactly.
Listen, queer women, I'm talking to you. You're in danger, girl, okay? Go somewhere else, all right? There's so many things wrong with this freaking school. Research University, Waco, Christian, hello. Go anywhere else, okay? The reality is that, to be fair, they've been doing this shit to them forever. Victims have been victims forever. People have done claims against people, and they have put it under the rug and treated a victim like they did something wrong. Okay, so they've been doing it forever. Now they just have the law or the ability to do it, like, you know, okayly.
Good going. Keep it good going. And this, what I fear also is this will be a template. It will be a template for other universities, especially other religious colleges and universities, to do the same thing.
I don't understand how
to
they
apply
can,
for it.
I don't understand how they can say this is based on our religious tenets. Excuse me, then your tenets are based on hate and hypocrisy and all the things that you shouldn't be doing in education, all the things that you shouldn't be doing in a religion. Not cool.
All right. Well,
okay. We'll continue queering up education. Shakespeare to be censored in Florida due to Don't Say Gay law. Don't Say Gay, the law that restricts instruction of LGBTQ+ identities and sexual content in schools, was expanded in March to cover a greater age range. As a result, Hillsborough County School District has announced it will now only teach excerpts from some of Shakespeare's most famous works, such as Macbeth, Hamlet, and Romeo and Juliet, to avoid any violation of the law. Saraya Haddad, a PhD researcher at the Shakespeare Institute in Stratford-upon-Avon, has warned that teaching only excerpts from the Bard's works will take Shakespeare out of context and rewrite literature history. It's been reported that the raunchy content of Shakespeare's works drove the decision by Hillsborough County to teach only extracts. But Haddad notes that the queerness is also very much present in his plays. She said they often call it early modern drag or Elizabethan drag because it was men on the stage dressing up as women. Haddad believes queer youngsters must study Shakespeare in full for them to see that gender fluidity and diversity have always been present. She believes this decision will have an elitist effect as despite the school district suggesting students can read the Bard's works on their own time, they will remain in school media centers. Many won't be able to understand Shakespearean language without the help of a teacher. This goes against everything that I believe as an educator, especially as an English teacher, or have ever been taught.
Or historically correct.
You know, it goes down to Shakespeare plays with gender on so many levels, not the least of which is addressing very personal, heartfelt things to his male lover. Mm-hmm. How can you ignore this when you're talking about literature? It's essential to understanding what was going on in Elizabethan England, what was going on in the plays that he wrote.
It's like changing Mona Lisa's smile because she looks like she's smirking at you. You know what I mean? Like, you don't do that kind of stuff. And what are you going to do? You're going to teach people Christian Cliff Note version of Shakespeare? Like, that's not going to work. The reality is that the reason that they want to throw this out is why? Because it was really gay, and that's it.
Yeah, but the people who want, the whole group of people who want to throw this out or whatever, they don't care about the queer history. That's exactly the point.
Or
they want to erase us. They want to erase us here, in the past, in the future, period.
Or women.
But these are major plot points that you have to have in order to fully understand the play or the poem. It's not just, taking out a line. It's taking out major plot.
What's very distressing to me on this story, in addition to the points that y'all make, is the issue. We remember the movie Shakespeare in Love, Academy Award winning, and the movie takes so many liberties of what it would have been like in Shakespeare's time in presenting the plays with a woman doing it. Completely unacceptable. We cannot have women. And it pokes fun at the idea that in that time period it was acceptable to say, okay, no women. In this story, it's interesting, almost 500 years later, we're sitting here going, it's acceptable to reject a whole class of people. And there's just irony of the ridiculousness of this because politicians and people that should not be involved in the arts are making decisions of what should go on in the arts, and that's never a good thing.
And education.
And in education. And one other thing that I think is really terrible in this story, if Hillsborough County, we kept calling it Hillsborough County, but this is one of the 20 largest metropolitan cities in America.
Yeah.
It's Tampa. This is impossible. We're not talking about some podunk Iowa town. I dish on Iowa all the time because they're podunk ridiculous. Not Tampa. And in this instance, what's sad to me is the students of this, 16th, 17th largest school district in America, they can't read this, which is your point, much less if they were going to do Shakespeare in a theater department in a high school and say, let's do it the way it was presented, all men in drag, which is exactly the way it was written
That's right.
and performed and we can't do it nearly 500 years later. Are we progressing in the right direction?
No, we are not.
No, we're not.
Don't think so.
No, we're not. Next, let's queer up entertainment. Conservative commentator Matt Walsh has meltdown over Wayne Brady being pansexual.
Pick a side, okay? Pick a team. Stop being indecisive. That's what pansexual really is. Aside from made up, it's a lack of commitment. And you know, the thing is, other people, I think, and this will be controversial, but other people have a right to know, okay? Other people have a right to know if they are potential objects of your sexual fantasies. And so that's why it's not fair to walk around and say, oh, I'm attracted to anyone at all. No one's safe. Now, whenever a group if there's like a group of people sitting in a room with Wayne Brady, and so it's a diverse group, and you've got like a overweight 65-year-old man, and then you got a young woman and whatever. Everyone's sitting around, and they're all thinking, he could be attracted to any one of us right now. Any one of us. He could be any of us. It's scary. It's like some kind of Agatha Christie novel in a weird way. So anyway, that's the news about Wayne Brady.
TV host Wayne Brady came out last week. People magazine ran an exclusive interview in which the 51-year-old revealed he's pansexual. Brady's announcement received a flood of supportive messages. However, there was also the usual, why do you feel the need to come out type of reaction. And then there were people confused by the concept of pansexuality. Leading the charge was Daily Wire podcaster Matt Walsh, the creator of the anti-trans documentary, What is a Woman? In a segment posted recently, Walsh demanded Brady pick a side. Besides not believing in the existence of trans identities, Walsh struggles with the notion it's possible to be attracted to more than one gender. For a start, Walsh's argument that other people have a right to know what team you're on flies in the face of the often conservative argument that queer people don't need to come out and should keep their business to themselves. Secondly, it suggests Walsh has a deep-seated fear of encountering men who may, just may, find him sexually attractive. Thirdly, it's worth noting there's a long conservative and U.S. cultural tradition of expressing fear over black men and their sexuality. Brady grew up in Orlando, Florida. He said he was very shy when younger and encountered bullying. He has struggled with his sexuality for some time. So you say, Mr. Walsh, that you should know if someone is sexually attracted to you, you think, right? Listen, welcome to my freaking world. I have been a sexual object since I was 12 years old. Okay? There's no reason why I should have ever been a sexual object to somebody, but that is men's lures. That's how men treat you when you're young. Welcome to my world. Okay? Yes, we should all know if somebody is attracted to us. You know what, Paul Bunyan? I don't think anybody's going to be attracted to you anyway. Okay? But again, welcome to being a woman.
Well, yeah, exactly that. But you know what? What's really sad is he's quite hot, actually. The Matt Walsh is quite hot. I'm sorry.
Until he opens his mouth.
Until he opens his mouth. And, you know, I'm really getting a gaydar. My gaydar is really going off with him big time, which would explain also his fear of homosexuality, you know, internalized homophobia. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm really getting that vibe.
Well, regardless, you don't have the right to know what other people are thinking, regardless.
Like, and how can you ever really?
It's none of your business.
It's none of your business.
You don't have the right into my brain, into anyone else's brain.
Yeah. Indecisive, he uses as a four-letter word. He suggests that Wayne Brady is making some mistake in saying he's pansexual versus bisexual. And I watched the interview, or I read every word of his interview, and he very carefully tried to say, I'm unclear about my evolution of my sexuality. So I'm gently trying to come out, and this is exactly what you get. And when you gently try to do this, very popular black television star and comedian, what does Matt Walsh represent? Older white guy. That's what this set, oh wait, I'm in this, but that's what this set does to everyone. It does it to women, it does it to queer, it does it to black, it does it to faith-based religions that are not Christian, and that's the problem. And Matt Walsh needs to be called out on his bullshit of what he said there. One other thing that I think is super interesting is he talks about this fear, this potential fear that
I think it's a hope.
yeah.
That somebody's at home just desperately thinking about having him in bed.
Let that queen find me hot.
Talking about the interaction of the fear of what he may be thinking about me, and it's the story of love. It's the story of America. There's a very famous Broadway show called Showboat, and the principal theme of Showboat is that if you have one drop of African American in you and you have a relationship with a white male or vice versa, it is illegal. That's the story of Showboat. And it's interesting to me that he's propelling that same racist, discriminatory nature. Wait, you even thinking about me as a sexual object? Your point is a woman, but a man to man makes that illegal in terms of his criticism. Right. I just remind him, it was not until 1968 that a Supreme Court justice could legally sleep with the white woman he was with. What's the difference between Clarence Thomas and what you said about walking through a room of what he would have said to you or thought about you? Who cares? Matt Walsh, wow. Wow.
Next, let's queer up business. New Skittles packaging designed with GLAAD has conservatives calling for boycotts. Skittles is getting pushback from conservatives who have soured on the popular candy's new woke pro-LGBTQ packaging, threatening a repeat of the boycott that cost Anheuser-Busch billions of dollars after Bud Light partnered with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney. One online user tweeted on Libs of TikTok saying Skittles is trying to turn kids into Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ plus activists, and the packaging also features a drag queen. Many social media users commented in favor of the post, but Saturday night the post had 1.8 million views. The backlash ensued after Skittles' parent company, the Wrigley Company, which in turn is owned by Mars Incorporated, swapped its rainbow-colored packaging for new LGBTQ plus friendly illustrations and messages. The new packages are predominantly black and white and include phrases like Black Trans Lives Matter and Joy is Resistance. The new look Skittles were designed in collaboration with the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation and is the fourth year the candy maker partnered with the organization to promote tolerance and inclusion. Although many brands have promoted similar messages for years, conservatives have seized on it in recent months, most notably a widespread boycott of Bud Light over the beer company's affiliation with Mulvaney. Well, this is another example of what the conservatives, the right crazy nut jobs, have to offer. Nothing about climate change, nothing about healthcare, nothing about anything that's of import.
Insurance on your house.
Insurance, nothing. It's just like the Skittles. I mean, really, get an effing grip. It just pisses me off.
P.S. Skittles has always been gay.
Right.
There's that.
Taste the
There's
rainbow.
that. Listen, I have my Skittles right here.
Yes.
All right, taste the rainbow, bitch. I love you, Skittles. You do your damn thing.
Yeah. All right. So you and I won't be talking for the next couple of minutes.
The best thing to happen to the show.
I'm curious, and in seriousness, after the Mulvaney Anheuser-Busch dust up, it had a substantive
They lost
effect.
a lot of money.
And some people throw around billions. I hesitate to do that because people lie
We don't really know
in
what the
various
numbers
different
are.
ways. But they did have an effect, and overall, it has an effect. They're bouncing back from it, etc. But given what we watched there and the climate of what's going on in America, do you think that Skittles and ultimately Mars Candy makes a good decision in doing this? But I know what we think about it in terms of representation, but I mean from a business standpoint. From a money and business standpoint. We always talk about rainbow capitalism. This is the antithesis of that, because likely the consequence of it is far greater than any business benefit. So the question then is, did they make a good decision?
I think it's hard for me. It's hard to separate my happiness that they're doing it, even though I don't eat Skittles, that they're doing it, to separate that from looking at it objectively. But I would like to think, but is that really a fair assessment. I would like to think that it's going to, in the long run, be to their advantage. And then in the long run, they will recoup those dollars.
What do y'all think? Was it a good decision?
You know, I think Skittles has been part of our community and part of the world for so long, right? Like, yeah, come on, it's a leprechaun, it's rainbows, it's very, 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 very gay, you know? And I don't think that you know, a boycott or anything like that would even really touch them. So I don't think that they care, you know? So I think it's a good move, personally. And I love that they didn't do it in June. You know, or they didn't do it on Black History Month. They didn't do it on any of those months. They decided to go, you know what, we're going to do this, you know, and they're not even on shelves. You have to order the bag.
Yeah.
The special one.
It doesn't even get, it gives you the ultimate parental rights. Because at the end of the day, you just can't buy it on a shelf in Target.
Yeah.
You have to order it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
how can we groom those kids if you got to order it online?
yeah. It's interesting to me. It's a very brave decision. I hope very successful for them. Likely, it will have risk. It just will. The publicity of it will have risk.
Remember last week when we were talking about the Doc Martin that came out, and there was just 2 or 1 of them, and they were like, oh, we must boycott Doc Martin. You know what I mean? So hopefully this will just pass, and then they did their stand for us.
Yeah. Well, we will, at Queer News Tonight, we will follow this story closely.
Skittles crossed.
Skittles crossed. Next, let's queer up business. Necromancer Brewery starts Queer Beer Club to support LGBTQ+ community. Helmed by head brewer Lauren Hughes and lead brewer Nina Santiago, Necromancer's brewing program focuses on their Resurrection series, while also peppering in plenty of hoppy goodness with hazies, West Coast IPAs, and contemporary takes. But beer isn't everything at Pittsburgh's Necromancer Brewing. Funny enough, being human and treating anyone who wants to enjoy beer humanely has been a core component of the brewery since the beginning. Head brewer at Necromancer, Hughes, admits she started Necromancer's Queer Beer Club selfishly. When she first got into craft beer, she never had a place to go out as her authentic self. It was difficult for her to go to a brewery or to a home brew club and try to talk to people because she didn't look like or act like them. At Necromancer, Hughes wanted to create an event series where people could come to the brewery and feel comfortable drinking and talking to the staff about beer. Modeled off old school gay bars that required membership cards, Queer Beer Club happens one night a month, inviting queer people to Necromancer to enjoy themselves, drink beer, and be around people like them in a safe space. What started as a meet and greet happy hour has expanded into a myriad of events, including skate nights, burlesque shows, a queer country theme, and even queer wrestling. Isn't all wrestling? This is great. A great story from, again, my home Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Always love it when Pennsylvania shows up as a progressive beacon in the wilderness that is parts of our country.
Yet you still don't sell beer on Sundays, because I was there.
Yeah, that's
There's
right.
that.
There's no alcohol on the
I just got back from there, so unfortunately. But listen, so what was I going to say about this? Beer causes a beer belly, right? So of course it's a lesbian steering this and not a gay boy. That's what I was thinking of. But the cans are super cool. I love the unicorn can. Like, they're so creative and cool. I love the whole concept. I mean, I would not drink the beer because, again, it causes LBs. But I would sit there for it and like clap everybody, and I think it's a great concept.
I think everything about this company is way cool. I mean, the name alone, Necromancer, it's such a nerdy.
You know what it means? What does it mean?
Well, necromancy is the study of and the arts and craft of through trying to recall spirits, dead spirits, and speak to them dead to foretell the future. So, I mean, it's really just so clever.
Cool.
And all the different things that can come with that. And what they're doing that is so progressive from the get-go. The company's only, I think, 3 years old. And they just started out progressively because it's a straight owner who brought in the lesbian person you mentioned, right? So it's
Beer Master. Say it right. Brewmaster.
Brewmaster, sorry. So, I mean, I'm just all over this company. I love it. Yeah. I might even start drinking beer, even though I'm not necessarily a fan. I'll take Skittles and beer are my new jam.
Skittles and beer are your new jam. You know, one thing that I love about it, and it has nothing to do with the beer or the fact that they're doing this, is its representation, which I think is very important. If we're going to continue to conquer the idiots of the world, And you want the whole list right now? Or,
we don't have time,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
If we're going to conquer the idiots of the world, we are going to prove and continue to prove to the ultimate masses of America and other places around the world that there is nothing about LGBT that is different than anyone else. And this story is a representation of, just cool IPA beer drinkers.
Chilling.
And we're just chilling. And we represent in every segment. If you think straight, gay does the exact same thing. We interact exactly in the same way. And when people begin to realize that, they go, they're okay. What's the big deal?
That's true.
That's what Necromancer has done. Thank you for that.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church right here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we're broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
Well, we finished tonight's Queer News headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News.
In LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News, let's queer up the world view. World Bank stops lending to Uganda over anti-LGBTQ plus law. The World Bank says it is halting new loans to Uganda because a new anti-gay law contradicts its core values. Homosexual acts were already illegal in Uganda, but anyone now convicted faces life imprisonment under the new law, which was enacted in May. Uganda dismissed the move by the World Bank as unjust and hypocritical. Its ambassador to the United Nations called the move draconian. In a tweet, Ambassador Adonia Ayabare said it was time to rethink the World Bank's work methods and the board's decisions. The anti-homosexuality law imposes the death penalty for so-called aggravated cases, which include having gay sex with someone below the age of 18 or where someone is infected with a lifelong illness, including HIV.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News, let's queer up health. Tennessee hospital that released transgender records to state AG under civil rights investigation. Vanderbilt University Medical Center is facing a federal civil rights investigation after turning the medical records of transgender patients over to Tennessee's Attorney General. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services is investigating, and their investigation comes just 2 weeks after two patients sued VUMC for releasing their records to Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti late last year. VUMC has come under fire for waiting months before telling patients in June that their medical information was shared late last year, acting only after the existence of the request emerged as evidence in another court case. The news sparked alarm from many families where GOP lawmakers were sought to ban gender-affirming care for transgender youth and limit LGBTQ plus rights.
In LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News, let's queer up entertainment. The 1975 to be fined $2.6 million after pro-LGBTQ plus comments and kiss during Good Vibes Festival in Malaysia. In Malaysia, homosexuality is illegal and punishable by up to 20 years in prison. There are also laws declaring it illegal to ridicule and challenge Malaysian laws. The legal threat comes after the July performance of the 1975 at the Good Vibes Festival, in which lead singer Maddie Healy spoke out regarding the country's laws against homosexuality. Because of Healy's act of protest, the next 2 days of the festival were canceled. And now the festival's organizer, Future Sound Asia, is ordering the 1975 to pay over 12.3 million Malaysian ringgit, which is over $2.6 million in damages. The band has 1 week to pay damages before legal action will be taken. A group of Malaysian musicians and vendors is also prepping a class action lawsuit against the band.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up. Hey, it's education. Southern California School District to require teachers to out students to parents. The Murrieta Valley Unified School District in Southern California has adopted a policy requiring faculty and staff to out transgender and gender nonconforming students to their parents. The district's Board of Trustees approved the policy by a 3-2 vote Tuesday night after a meeting that saw impassioned statements by both supporters and opponents. The California Department of Education has advised that students are entitled to privacy about their gender identity under the state's constitution. California Superintendent of Public Instruction Tony Thurmond had advised the board not to consider the policy, which was proposed by Board President Paul F. Diffley III. And the district's attorney also cautioned that it might bring about legal action.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up courts. O'Shea Sibley's killer pleads not guilty. Will argue self-defense. A teenager charged with murder as a hate crime in the fatal stabbing of dancer O'Shea Sibley pleaded not guilty on Friday and will likely argue that the killing was an act of self-defense, the teen's attorney told reporters at a news conference. Dmitry Popov, 17, was indicted on 9 counts in total, including second-degree murder as a hate crime, second-degree murder, first-degree manslaughter as a hate crime, and criminal possession of a weapon. He's being charged as an adult. In response to reporters' questions on Friday, Popov's attorney, Mark Pollard, said his client regrets the incident.
That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including FayWhat, Dr. Tai Houser, and Dale Stine. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. And to our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you good night.
Good night.
We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ plus evening news show, brought to you from Happening Out Television Network. We operate in the same model of PBS and NPR, but for the LGBTQ plus community. We educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ plus community, with more than 100,000 a week watching us on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the story going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.